every so often, a real journalist gets it just right, uses just the right words, uses just the right tone, uses just the right intonation to provide a narrative that not only those who agree with you will follow, but even those who disagree with you would see the honesty within what he's saying and just may change a few minds. I want you to listen to this and then let's take it on the other side. It's a must see.
At around 4:30 in the morning, 160 years ago tomorrow, a treasonous South Carolina militia attacked the U.S. government at Fort Sumter near Charleston, South Carolina, and the U.S. Civil War began. To this day, the deadliest war in American history. 4 years of bloody battle and unfathomable viciousness, ending only when General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox, so the conflict would not formally end for another 16 months. In some parts of the country, and in the hearts and minds of too many of our fellow Americans, the war continued to rage. A war that was fought over whether or not states had the right to own black Americans, to enslave them, to rape them, to maim them, and to kill them. Monument in the names of treasonous generals who led this war continue to mar this nation. Military bases are named after them. Most of them, by the way, not named for them in the 1860s or 1870s in the immediate aftermath of the smoke clearing from the battlefields of Shiloh or Bull Run, but named in the 20th century during World Wars I and II as a way to get local buy-in as the federal government grabbed swaths of land to build these bases. They weren't even necessarily good generals. General Braxton Bragg was relieved of command after losing the battles for Chattanooga. And yet there are our special forces headquartered at the North Carolina base, still named after this bumbling, treasonous fool who took up arms against his own government. I doubt you can find another country on this earth that has so many monuments and tributes to its own traitor. And that's because the hatreds and resentments of that era are still simmering today, still a force. Now, people aren't calling for a return to slavery, but they push the same twisted, un-American ideas that all men are not created equal. You see these people marching in Charlottesville, talking about how Jews will not replace them, and then you hear folks defending them and defending the ones who marched alongside them. You hear these people talking about ways to only support the quote-unquote right legal voter being able to cast their ballots, the so-called informed one. Their twisted conspiracy theories about how immigrants are being brought here, some believe by a cabal of nefarious Jews, to replace the white working man and women. Those theories, those twisted ideas shared by politicians and members of the media on our airwaves and social media, those ideas motivating the murderers in Pittsburgh and El Paso. They constantly demonstrate the favoring authoritarianism, favoring repression, steeped in both racism and a deep personal sense of grievance. When the treasonous South Carolina militia led by PGT Beauregard attacked Fort Sumter 160 years ago tomorrow morning, they began the Civil War. 34 hours later, 160 years ago this Tuesday, U.S. Major Robert Anderson and 86 U.S. government soldiers surrendered. The bad guys won that battle, and the traitors of what would eventually become the Confederate Army occupied Fort Sumter for almost 4 years. And though their discredited, twisted ideas are often shaded and diluted and camouflaged, they continue to occupy too many parts of our politics and our culture and our news media.
That is so true. Now, it is sad because from the beginning of this country, most Americans have been conned. They have been conned into believing they had a birthright they never got, they were never intended to get. And I'm not talking about the slaves or the descendants of the slaves. I'm talking about the majority population. The only thing that keeps them subservient to those who oppress them is by making that distinction between them and those others. And it's that has continued to screw most Americans. If the people that most promote these types of policies, these types of hatreds, these types of ways of thinking, they live in the states that are doing the worst. They live in the states where the poverty is worse. They live in the beggar states, They live in the taker states. They continue to vote for people and pass policies that only enrich a few in their states and make the rest so darn poor. So the reality is there's only one solution. Yes, we have to get that cancer out of the minds of others, but we also have to lead by example. And one of the good things that I've seen in the new administration is with all the arrows coming in, it is almost like they are fighting like the good old George Fraser. You're getting beaten. They're beating you, but you keep moving forward. You keep moving forward. That is what it's going to take. Because there's some of these people that are so far gone in their beliefs that only reality instantiated at the time they need it is going to make a difference. And that is how we are ultimately going to pull out and win this battle. Jake Tapper, a hell of a piece. It'll touch quite a few, including some that didn't realize all of that. But ultimately, when we all get that better picture, is when we have the problem solved. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.